In the emerald cathedrals of Africa's forests, a shadow moves through the canopy. It swings effortlessly between branches, its limbs impossibly fluid, its gaze unsettlingly familiar. But this is no ordinary creature. This is a primate, a member of a secretive society of minds that walk the edge between instinct and thought. And though we share the world with lions, whales, and elephants, no other group of animal reveals as much about our origins or our strangeness as the apes. Because apes are not just our closest relatives, they are our mirror. They laugh, they grieve, they wage war and forge peace. They can lie, emphasize, mourn, and teach. And despite being separated from us by millions of years of evolution, apes often seem human. But they're not. They are something else entirely. A parallel experiment in mammalian intelligence, unfolding on the same branch of the evolutionary tree, but diverging into widely different forms. From the knuckle-walking strength of the gorillas to the political savvy of the chimpanzees, to the solitary introspection of the orangutans, apes are more than just almost human. They are a living archive of evolutionary genius. So what makes apes so biologically insane? How did their brains evolve such eerie cognitive parallels to our own? What secrets hide in the anatomy, their culture, and their genes? And what can they teach us about what it means to be human, or even what it means to be alive? To answer that, we must travel through the jungles of Africa, the high canopies of Borneo, and the volcanic slopes of Rwanda, and ultimately, into the depths of our own evolutionary past. Our shared evolutionary roots. To understand apes, we must start with ourselves. Humans are not just related to apes. We are apes. The superfamily Hominoidea includes 8 living species: chimpanzees, bonobos, gorillas, orangutans, and humans, alongside 3 gibbon species sometimes called lesser apes due to their smaller size. But genetically and anatomically, the great apes are our true evolutionary kin. Our common ancestor with the chimpanzees lived just 6 to 7 million years ago, barely a flicker in the evolutionary of time. Compare that to our last shared ancestor with whales, which lived over 90 million years ago. In terms of raw DNA, humans and chimps share over 98.7% of their genomes. In fact, humans are more closely related to chimps than chimps are to gorillas. This makes chimps and bonobos not just our cousins, but our evolutionary siblings. But even with that closeness, evolution has taken strange turns. Chimpanzees retained the ancient practice of knuckle walking. Bonobos evolved matriarchal societies. Gorillas became hulking vegetarians that can crack bamboo with their molars, and orangutans, isolated on islands for millions of years, became solitary thinkers with minds like slow-burning fires. And then there's us, the ape that stood up, built tools, drew pictures on cave walls, and reached for the stars. But what if intelligence didn't begin with us? What if it was already there, in the ape mind, quietly evolving in the treetops? A brain sculpted by social warfare. Apes possess some of the largest brains relative to body size in the entire animal kingdom. The average human brain weighs 1.4 kilograms and contains nearly 86 billion neurons. A chimpanzee's brain contains about 6 billion neurons, still staggering for a non-human animal. Gorillas and orangutans clock in around 4 to 5 billion, while even the smallest gibbons outmatch most carnivores. But it's not just the number of neurons, it's where they are and how they're used. The neurocortex, the area of the brain responsible for higher cognition, reasoning, and emotional regulation, is proportionally massive in apes. In a landmark study, researchers found the size of the neurocortex correlates strongly with the size and the complexity of the animal's social group. This became the basis for the social brain hypothesis, the idea that intelligence didn't evolve for tool use or environmental navigation, it evolved for managing relationships. Among chimpanzees, correlations are everything. Males form shifting alliances to gain mating rights and territory. They remember debts, betrayals, and favors. A chimp will groom a former rival one day and then attack him the next. In these fluid hierarchies, survival depends not just on strength, but on strategic memory. In other words, chimps don't just react, they plan. Orangutans, by contrast, live largely solitary lives, but their intelligence emerges in other ways. A 2009 study showed the wild orangutans will modify and carry tools for future use, a cognitive feat once thought to require language. They create umbrellas from banana leaves, use twigs to fish for honey, and even imitate human actions after watching them just once. And gorillas? Despite their gentle appearance, their social structures are rich with nuance. Silverbacks act not just as protectors, but as peacekeepers. They mediate conflicts, comfort crying infants, and display remarkable emotional restraint. Apes, it turns out, are not smart despite being wild. They are smart because they are wild. The hand that thinks. Hold out your hand. Flex your fingers. Now pick up a pen, tie a shoelace, or gently touch your face. You're using a structure so complex that it took evolution over 400 million years to perfect, the primate hand. And in apes, this structure becomes something more. It becomes a conduit for thought. Apes have opposable thumbs, like humans. But unlike monkeys, their thumbs are shorter and stronger, giving them a powerful grip rather than precise dexterity. Orangutans and gibbons take it further, evolving a hiplogrip for rotation, swinging through trees with their entire body weight suspended from one arm. The shoulder joint of an ape rotates nearly 360 degrees, something impossible for most quadrupeds. But it's what apes do with their hands that matter most. Chimpanzees create and modify tools. They strip leaves from sticks to fish for termites. In one population in Guinea, chimps use stone hammers to crack open oil palm nuts, an ability passed down culturally, not genetically. Juvenile chimps watch adults for years before attempting themselves. This isn't just imitation, it's apprenticeship. And in the Thai forest, female chimps have been seen sharpening spears with their teeth to hunt bush babies. This makes them the only known non-human animal to use weapons in the wild. Apes don't just use tools, they improve them. They teach, they refine them over generations. And every time they do, they show us that evolution doesn't just shape bodies, it shapes cultures. The face that feels. One of the most haunting things about apes is their eyes. They don't just look at you, they see you. Unlike most animals, apes can follow gaze direction. They know when they're being watched, and they can use their faces in astonishingly human-like ways. Chimps smile, frown, pout, and grin. Gorillas wince in pain. Orangutans have been recorded using mirrors to inspect injuries. In a groundbreaking study at the Max Planck Institute, apes were presented with situations requiring them to infer what another individual believed about a hidden object. This so-called theory of mind was once thought to be uniquely human, but the apes passed the test, some even outperforming 4-year-old children. Bonobos take it even further. They console one another after fights, share food with strangers, and engage in socio-sexual behavior to diffuse tension. Neuroscientists examining their brains found an unusually developed limbic system, the area involved in empathy and emotional bonding. It raises a chilling question. If apes can understand thoughts, mirror emotions, and respond to fairness, what exactly separates their minds from ours? And the closer we look, the blurrier the boundaries become. The cost of consciousness. For all their intelligence, apes are not immune to evolutionary trade-offs. In fact, their brilliance may be one of their greatest burdens. Take childbirth. In most mammals, the birth process is relatively straightforward. But among apes, and especially humans, it is a tight, dangerous ordeal. Why? Because large brains require large skulls, and walking upright narrows the shape of the pelvis. This anatomical tug-of-war creates a paradox. Intelligent brains increase survival through learning, but make birth far more dangerous. Among chimpanzees and bonobos, mothers often isolate themselves to give birth. Infant mortality remains high. And then, there's the burden of emotional awareness. Gorillas mourn their dead. Chimps suffer depression after losing siblings. Orangutans have been known to cradle the bodies of their stillborn infants for days. In captivity, apes have shown signs of post-traumatic stress, self-harm, and even suicide-like behaviors. The very circuit that allows empathy and attachment also opens the door to grief, anxiety, and despair. Even their social brilliance can backfire. Chimpanzees wage war. Males from neighboring groups will form raiding parties, ambush lone individuals, and beat them to death. These attacks are not impulsive, they are premeditated, optimistic, and eerily similar to human tribal conflict. The same cognitive tools that let apes build coalitions can be used to destroy them. So while intelligence grants apes flexibility, creativity, and emotion, it also brings pain, loss, and violence. The cost of consciousness is complexity, and complexity is messy. Language without words. Perhaps the most provocative question in ape biology is, can they speak? The short answer is no, at least not in the way we do. Apes lack the vocal anatomy for complex speech. Their larynx are higher in the throat. Their tongues are less dexterous. But their minds? That's another matter. In the 1970s, researchers began teaching American Sign Language to captive apes. The gorilla Koko reportedly learned over 1,000 signs and understood more than 2,000 spoken English words. She asked for pets, expressed sadness, and once signed sad when her favorite kitten died. Then came Kanzi, a bonobo raised in a language-rich environment. Using a lexigram keyboard, Kanzi could communicate with humans using over 300 symbolic words. He constructed multi-step commands, understood novel sentences, and even invented his own combinations. And while critics debate the depth of these abilities, no one doubts the underlying truth. Apes can associate symbols with meaning, respond appropriately, and exhibit rudimentary syntax. This is not mimicry, it's language processing without vocal cords. But even in the wild, communication runs deep. Chimpanzees use over 30 distinct vocalizations. They have different calls for different predators, alerting each other while danger comes from the ground, the sky, or the trees. Bonobos use high-pitched peeps to signal play, stress reassurance, or excitement. And recent studies show that they can alter vocalizations based on social context, an essential precursor to real grammar. So while apes don't speak with words, they do speak with faces, hands, gesture, tone, and gaze. And in that sense, language is not unique to us. We just added syllables to a song that was already being sung. The forests they built, the futures they face. Each ape species occupies a unique ecological role. Gorillas shape forests by dispersing seeds from their fibrous fruits they eat. Their digestion unlocks nutrients that many plants depend on to sprout. In Borneo, orangutans prune branches as they climb, creating light gaps that let younger trees grow. Bonobos and chimpanzees hunt, but also regulate insect populations. They are keystone species, ecosystem engineers. But their homes are disappearing. Orangutans have lost over 80% of their habitat in the last 50 years to palm oil plantations. Chimpanzee territories are fragmented by roads, mines, and farms. Mountain gorillas survive in just 2 isolated pockets, with fewer than 1,100 individuals left. And bonobos, perhaps the gentlest of all apes, are confined to a shrinking strip of a forest in the Democratic Republic of Congo, their lives threatened by hunting and political instability. What's most painful about the extinction crisis is irony. The very species that can teach us the most about ourselves are vanishing because of us. Yet, there is hope. In Rwanda, ecotourism efforts have stabilized mountain gorilla numbers. Sanctuaries in Borneo are rescuing orphaned orangutans and preparing them for reintroduction. And international pressure is mounting to certify sustainable palm oil and stop illegal logging. The apes have survived for millions of years. Whether they continue to do so now depends entirely on us. What apes teach us about ourselves? When we look into the eyes of an ape, we're not just seeing an animal, we're seeing an origin story. Apes remind us that intelligence did not begin with fire or writing or language. It began with emotion, with social bonds, with the ability to remember, to suffer, to help. It began with trees, where mothers carried infants for years, where siblings played in the shade, where alliances were formed and strategies were forged. They show us that culture isn't a uniquely human invention, that empathy isn't ours alone, that grief, joy, war, and peace all have roots deeper than civilization. And the most haunting of all, they show us what we might have been had evolution twisted the dial just slightly differently. If humans are the ape that chose tools, conquest, and cities, then gorillas are the ape that chose strength and peace. Orangutans chose solitude and contemplation. Chimpanzees chose strategy. Bonobos chose compassion. We all climbed down from the same ancestral tree, and every ape still carries a version of ourselves in its DNA. To know them is to know ourselves. And if we lose them, we lose a piece of what it means to be alive on this planet. That was the biology and the anatomy of the apes.